It's a little bit crackly.
Hello, internet denizens and purveyors of all things moral and immoral. Welcome to another AIMBOT. And today I have with me my lovely wife. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
You've got a kitty in the background. You look lovely. You've got your pony shirt on, which I absolutely adore.
My pony shirt.
Yeah, absolutely. My little pony shirt. Look, I've got on a dragon sushi dragon shirt. It's all coming together. Thank you for joining us, everybody. And if you are joining us for the first time, what the hell is AIMBOT? It's basically we're going through and we're morally judging people who put up on the "Am I the Arsehole" post on Reddit. Now, please keep in mind, this is consensual judging. It's solicited judging. People do want to be judged. But really, we're going to go through and we're going to apply what I hope to be secular morality or whatever your moral system is and sort of say whether who's in the right, who's in the wrong, and what is going on. And it's great to see you out there. A big thank you to Pragmatic Crystal, who always comes through and updates everything. Thank you so much.
You're very on top of things.
Always, absolutely always. Now, I've got to do, I must admit, I was looking at, apparently there's some controversy over the, we were just talking about it, the new character from a games company. It's got an intergalactic something. God, I hate it when they put colons in there. It's intergalactic, the heretic prophet. It's apparently a new game from Naughty Dog. It is a bit. So it's basically the character has a shaved head. Now, I must admit I'm biased, but apparently people like the chuds are angry that she's got a shaved head, and she should have a big afro apparently, and I don't know why. If I'm doing racist. A solo, maybe. I mean, she's not even African American. She's definitely of Asian origin. You know, that's perfectly clear. Now, I think that what somebody said, like they're probably saving on processing power. That's probably true.
That's very good. That's a more logical.
Yeah,
hair is hard. We all understand that hair is hard to animate.
It takes a lot of processing power.
To look good, or just in general?
Just in general, because you've got to sort of animate sort of where the strands are going and everything like that. But I think for somebody that's solo in space, I wouldn't imagine there's a whole lot of showering and a whole lot of, you know, sort of appearance.
Hygiene.
Well, I mean, hygiene's one thing, sort of, you know, working on your appearance. I don't know, what do you call that when you sit down and work yourself to look pretty kind of
It's
thing?
Grooming.
If
you want to use a better word.
It's got to be a better word.
It's just getting ready. Like it's a whole genre of YouTube video. It's a vibe.
Okay. Well, yeah. No, I got you. Like sort of beauty care. There's probably not a lot of beauty care in space, so I don't see why they wouldn't go for a shaved head kind of thing. Like seriously, it is low maintenance, and I know that firsthand. Very low maintenance.
Primping.
That's a very good term.
Primping and preening.
Prepping and prep, all good terms. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, so I really think that this sort of male requirements of beauty stances has really gotten a bit out of control, to be honest with you.
It's a sort of a throwback from Gamergate, because that's when that stuff started to get really toxic.
Right.
And, it's sort of every now and then the Gamergate ghosts come back to haunt us and remind us that the incels aren't happy. I guess it's just I think they do it for the sake of it.
Gamergate was just stupid all round. You know, that all round was just dumb. Like, what really upsets me, it was like it started a conversation about whether the media the gaming companies had Right, too much influence over the journalists, whether that was a bad thing, because a lot of conversations started to come up about, say, Sony being bought stuff by, games companies and given as gifts to the journalists to,
Right. It's
help
conflict of
them
interest. Yeah.
understand their game kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, that's bribery where I'm from.
Yeah.
There was a conversation that came, and it got drowned out by, number one, idiots that just wanted to say, hey, women suck and shouldn't be in gaming, which is obviously untrue. And two, the other side saying, hey, all gamers suck, which is obviously untrue. It just got drowned out. A very relevant conversation got drowned out. So I think it was a missed opportunity. But yeah, it was so stupid. It was, yeah. Anyway, are you ready to help out and read out wonderful posts from, I'm sure, questionable people? And we will get started and go through it. But what do you think? Would you ever have a shaved head, like under any circumstances?
I got very close to a shaved head. So
You did?
you've seen my hairdresser, like, went through a phase where he really wanted to cut my hair very short, but he uses a razor on the back of my head. But no, I would not fully shave my head to answer the question. I would not.
But even if you're in space and water was limited and you had, would efficiency make any change to that?
No, I don't think so. I wouldn't think, unless my hair gets so long that it's becoming a problem. I'd cut it very short, but I probably wouldn't.
Very short. Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. No, totally get it. Totally get it. And Andrew, I totally agree. Cassandra, Professor X's twin sister in Deadpool and Wolverine, she absolutely did. And I just have to point to Natalie Portman in V for Vendetta was shaved, and she was shaved for real on camera kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because she joins an elite group of actors that shave their head on camera for a part, and sort of this is seen as very, very noble in acting circles. But that was an amazing film, amazing scene, because she was like bawling her eyes out while she was having her head shaved, and she really shaved it for real and looked amazing, like just amazing. Yeah, Sigourney Weaver looked amazing with a shaved head. There's definitely a lot of. But as you said earlier to me, it suits some women, it doesn't suit others, and I do have to agree with that.
Yeah, it suits some guys, and I feel bad for guys that, like, it doesn't suit them, but they really want to shave it but it still wouldn't look good. Yeah, it's tricky. Hair's hard.
My condolences, aren't you? And that's actually really sweet. That's actually really sweet. It reminds me of sort of, the sort of traditions of cutting your braids when you've lost someone. It's actually very sweet. Look, there's no correct way to grieve. Don't ever say, hey, that's weird if you grieve like that. Grieving is weird to begin with.
Yeah.
I remember somebody asking me, like, what evolutionary process does grieving have? Like, why do we grieve? And it's a good question. It is a good question.
Well, they've debunked that stages of grief. So somebody actually came out and said, well, that wasn't actually for grief for dying. It was for other situations, and B, you don't go through a structured form of grief from one thing to another. You go through highs and lows of grief, and you just sort of process it slowly as time goes on. You don't stop and start.
No, I didn't think he did. I thought that everybody sort of understood it was only a rough guideline to the things that you move through, and it isn't sort of a structured thing. You can go from one to another, then back to another, and then move on.
Yeah.
But I think the whole point is that most people, and it's not even all people, but most people will hit one of those at some point through the process of letting go. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into it. Did you want to do the first one, or do you want me to do the first one?
I'll do the first one.
Okay.
Because it looks funny. It looks funny.
Okay. It looks funny. All right.
So this is from, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that, Axquatguida.
Axquatguida. Okay, I don't know either. I'm giving up. I'm throwing in the towel. Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done.
So am I the Am I morally bankrupt for refusing to let my girlfriend drive my car because she's totaled 2 cars before?
I don't know about that. Has she totaled 2 of your cars? Because
Well,
I
that's
could
what I don't
really
know.
understand. Well, yeah, I can kind of go, well, I kind of understand the sentiment. If she's cost you 2 cars before, I can kind of,
But if it's
I
other
would be,
people, yeah.
if it's other people, I don't know.
No, because
I
she's
don't
saying
know.
totaled, so by that you're implying that
Yeah.
she's written off these cars. They're not just
Yes,
dings.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Do
she's
they have that term in America? Written
written
off?
off. I thought that's what the insurance term is, but totaled just to my mind just meant it's a wreckage, and
Oh, yeah.
like it's almost unsalvageable. So this sounds drastic that she's actually gotten and possibly even hurt people by that logic too. I have no idea.
Yeah.
So, I, 24 male, recently bought my first nice car, a 2019 Mazda 3. It's not a luxury car or anything, but I worked my ass off for it. I saved for years, drove beaters while I worked 2 jobs, and when I finally got this car, it felt like a reward for all my effort. I take care of it too. I wash it every weekend, never let it get below half a tank, and park away from everyone else in the parking lots like a total dork. Okay, so you love your car.
Okay.
Here's the issue. My girlfriend, Emily, 24F, wants to drive it. I love Emily, but she is the single worst driver I've ever met. No, she isn't. That's me. You haven't met awful until you've tried to drive with me. I'm not exaggerating. She's totaled 2 cars in the past 2 years. The first was because she misjudged the distance while merging on the highway. The second, she reversed into a light pole in an empty parking lot. 2, she tailgates like crazy. I've had to tell her multiple times to back off the car in front of her when I'm the passenger seat because it feels like we're going to die. 3, she's admitted she doesn't like paying attention while driving because it's boring. I wish I were kidding. Okay, so she's irresponsible. And I wouldn't say total, but she's dinged cars. It sounds like she's done enough.
I don't think you're the worst driver. I have met somebody that reversed into a tree and then blamed the tree.
Oh yeah,
I'm not even joking.
And that was in the police report, or the report she put that it was.
Yeah.
So she lied basically and said it was the tree's fault.
Well, she said that the tree wasn't there, and then it was. So she, in a roundabout way, she suggested that the tree, like, jumped out at her in some way. Don't ask.
Right.
It was the craziest thing I've ever heard. Like, yeah.
I let her drive my old car once before, a 15-year-old Civic I wasn't super attached to, and she managed to scrape it pulling into a gas station. After that, I said I'd never let her drive my car again, and we both kind of laughed it off. Well, now I have this car and she keeps asking to drive it. At first it was playful stuff like, let me take it for a spin. And I just said no with a laugh. But recently she's been getting more annoyed about it. She says stuff like, you act like I'm going to crash it or something. And, well, yeah, that's the reason. The other day we were driving to dinner, me driving obviously, and she brought it up again. She said it's weird that I won't let my own girlfriend drive my car and that it makes her feel like I don't trust her. I told her straight up, it's not that I don't trust you. I've seen you drive. You can't afford to have this car wrecked. And I can't afford to have this car wrecked. She got quiet and didn't say much for the rest of the night. Later, she told me I embarrassed her and made her feel like she's incompetent. I said I wasn't trying to embarrass her, but she has totaled 2 cars. She said I should get over it because accidents happen. That's not an excuse. And that I'm being controlling. Now she doesn't even let me use her PC because I might break it, so she's just being passive aggressive. When there has never been such an issue before, I think it's childish. Am I the morally bankrupt a-hole? I don't think so. First impressions, no.
So? Okay. First impressions, no. I don't know. I'm up in the air about this one because if you do have insurance, it shouldn't really matter. Like, it would go on her insurance kind of thing. As long as she is, maybe she, like, uses her insurance to cover it, it shouldn't be a problem. But at the same time, you know,
I think
can
it's
understand
trickier if she doesn't own the car in that case, though. So you have to list all nominated drivers on a policy. At least here you do.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he didn't list her and she crashed it yet, he'd be screwed. But he's not even letting her drive it. Yeah,
If
then
he
that's
does
one
the
thing. Yeah.
yeah.
But I think it's more a case of, well, it's not the insurance for him, it's the, I don't want my car wrecked, period, for whatever reason, and I don't care. He just doesn't want to have to unnecessarily fix his car.
Yeah.
Because she broke it.
There are some problems here. Like tailgating is a problem kind of thing. It definitely is. I dislike my father used to do that, is tailgate like crazy, and like you'd be in the passenger seat hitting the brake kind of thing, you know, like even though there's obviously no brake in the passenger seat, if you drive, you will just hit the brake out of reflex.
Right.
It was a problem. But I think that sort of with material things, you know, I don't know. I think that you know, it's sort of like, well, if you don't trust her with this, like how where is this relationship going to go if you can't trust her to drive your car?
Okay, yeah, true.
You
Because
know
if
what I
she's going to
mean? Like,
behave this way as well, the way she's kind of reacted to it is a bit.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of, she feels embarrassed because, I mean, having an accident is embarrassing to begin with. It is. Like, even if you're like, I was rear-ended once, and it was still embarrassing to have to pull over, even though it definitely, like, it 100% wasn't my fault. And it was
Right.
just a ding anyway. It wasn't
Right.
that bad. But, you know, accidents are embarrassing. So I understand where she's coming from, that she feels embarrassed kind of thing.
Okay, sorry, somebody in the chat said here they have to have their own blanket liability insurance. So does that mean that even if you don't own a car, you have to have insurance if you want to drive? Is that what that means? That one that just came up, Andrew.
You know way more about insurance than I do.
Well, I'm talking from there. I'm assuming this person's in America, or that's a big
yeah, Andrew,
assumption.
yeah, Andrew
So,
is, yeah.
here you wouldn't. Here you get your rego covers third party. So we pay a registration. We don't carry our private car insurance information.
Well, I'm pretty
For the
sure
police.
when you're driving, you have to be insured because, you know,
Yes.
all of the American shows I've seen that ask for registration and license and
and your insurance, like proof of insurance. So I think that's what that means. Here you don't have to have comprehensive insurance, as far as I'm aware. You only have to have the car registered to get third party, and then you pay for comprehensive insurance.
I don't know. I'm going to come down on sort of I think that sort of I kind of think that everyone's in the wrong here. I don't know. Just sort of saying, you can't drive my car because you've totaled cars. I just, you know, for your significant other, if you're going to have, like, presumably going to own a place together, maybe, or, you know, share things. You know, if that person is a bad driver, you may just have to go, well, that's one of the things about them that is just one of the things. At the end of the day, it's just a car. It can be replaced. You know, I don't, and I get that maybe you have to have a conversation about, hey, if you know, your driving needs improvement, and what can we do to fix that? Like, you know, can we get a driving tutor, or, you know, go through some programs to help improve driving? But sort of just saying no, I don't know. I just don't see it as fixing the problem.
No. The only problem with that is that, okay, maybe if it's her attitude to the fact she doesn't care that bothers me, because it's like her attitude to driving in general. I wouldn't want to drive with her either with that attitude, because she's like, well, accidents happen, and like she's too cavalier about driving, and I have a problem with that. And you're a very defensive focused driver. I worry more. Yeah, I probably worry about getting in a crash more than you do, because I'm weird like that. If I were personally acting like that, I wouldn't want to sit in the car with that person. I mean, I've got relatives that do drive like that, and they are a bit, and they have, you know, they've crashed their cars or dinged them at the very least, and they just shrug it off like it's nothing. And I don't think that's something you should be shrugging off, even if it's not killing anybody. How far is that going to go before I'm so reckless that, oh crap, I hit a kid? Or like, your inattentiveness could lead to other things. He's just acting like he doesn't want his car trashed. I don't know if he cares about any of that other stuff.
I think that sort of I think that it's not. This is the problem thing that makes me problematic. It's not that I don't trust you. It's just I've seen you drive and I can't afford to have that car wrecked. Like, it's not that I trust you, but I don't trust you the way you drive. Like, it just doesn't seem like it seems like he's sort of giving mixed messages here.
Yeah,
he should just say, I don't trust you to drive my car without crashing it. I mean, yeah.
Why doesn't she just get her own car? I mean, unless she's saying I can't afford it. Probably. Well, she's probably a liability. Yeah, like she's a liability, and that's a problem.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's just instead of actually addressing it and saying, "Hey, how do we fix this?" He's just going, "No, you're going to be put in the playpen," kind of thing. And I don't like that. I think a more mature way to address it is to say, "Hey, can we actually rectify this problem instead of?" Because she's embarrassed, but I think laughing it off like, "Oh, everybody crashes," everybody has no, that's not true for a start. People just, and I've seen people go, "Oh, accidents happen all the time," and it's like, no, they don't.
They actually don't. I feel like she'd be offended if he told her to get like driving lessons, because people like that were like, well, I already know how to drive. Why would I go back and learn how to drive properly? Because as soon as they get their license, as far as they're concerned, they're qualified to drive. So I'd feel like she'd have to be mature.
I think they should do driving reviews where you have to go in and do a driving test again, because some of especially the older people that haven't driven for, that have been driving for so long, they've got such bad habits, and it's pretty terrible. Do you want to go through some of the comments here?
The top one. So my sister has been in 7 car collisions. None her fault, not even when she destroyed our mum's garage. It jumped out at her. Okay, she's that close.
I actually heard that. Yeah, that's what the person the tree said. Yeah.
Like, it was there it wasn't there 1 minute, and the second it was gone.
Yeah, The tree just jumped out at her. Yeah.
It's just, what a dick of a tree.
Oh.
Some people really don't understand driving, like your girlfriend. Some people can drive any reason not to be to blame. Not to be to blame. That's bad grammar. Consider whether she does in this aspect of her life. Is she ever at fault for anything that ever goes wrong? Is she capable of admitting responsibility in any context? If this is a driving only issue for denial, you could be comfortable and say, hey, yeah, sending her out with children in the car. Okay. So yeah, not the arsehole. Would you drive around like that if you had kids in the car and you knew them? Like, probably.
Yeah.
Right? Because they don't change their habits for kids.
No, and that's the whole point. Like, if they're going to have, say, kids together and stuff, like, presumably she'll be driving with the kids in the car. So instead of just saying, hey, you're not going to drive my car, we've got to look at, is this a problem ongoing, and how do we fix the problem? I just think his level of sort of addressing it is childish at best. But not the arsehole. I don't know. I don't know about that. He doesn't trust her. I mean, he does trust her in almost everything, just not with driving.
Yeah.
And I get that. Some people's spatial perception and spatial reasoning is terrible. Like, it's just terrible. Like, I get that.
Yeah, but it seems like she's capable of it, but she's saying it's boring to pay attention. So is she the type to just play on her mobile phone? Is she the type to just like stuff around with the stereo and not just because it's too boring for her to pay attention? Like, that part of it, I'd be like, I wouldn't want. I just feel like if that's what you said to a driving instructor, they would just be like, boom, fail. Like, if you're not going to take this seriously, if they could get in the mind of all these kids who want their license but just want it for the sake of having it, you'd find out a lot of people don't give a shit. They only pay attention.
And I think sort of like classing driving as boring is a problem. That's a problem.
It's not boring.
I think that, it certainly can be. Like, it certainly is something that you're like, oh, I really don't feel like driving, a couple of hours to go somewhere because, It can be boring, absolutely. No doubt about it. But it's one of those things where, yeah, it's boring, but you've got to pay attention because lives depend on it. You can't just lose concentration. If you are, play some music, do some other stuff that doesn't distract you, but keeps you, like, have someone to talk to if you're going on that. But if you think a 5-minute drive is boring, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, like if you've got to make everything in your life so exciting to pay attention to it, then
yeah. Like, it's just one of those things that so I guess I was taught good habits and to reinforce them as much as possible, kind of thing, like really do the check mirrors, check this, check that. And I suppose that I think that good driving is just a matter of good habits. That's all it is, just reinforcing good habits. And good habits is just repeating them over and over. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of see where you're coming from, Lynn. I really do. Yeah, I kind of think that if she is a bad driver, then maybe she shouldn't be on the road at all, much less driving his car.
We got our first car because my grandmother couldn't be trusted with it. We had to physically give it to me. My dad had to take it out of her because she was lying on her test. So that was the other thing too. She didn't live that far from anything, but she wanted to drive. She was lying on her follow-up test. She was in her 90s by that point, or getting close to her 90s. And my aunt had also been in like collisions and jaws of life situations as well. And it's stressful for that's why they made that video about that we saw on Red Letter Media about old people and driving. It's more like it was less about teaching them to drive properly and more than just like teaching them to just get away from the car, because at some point, like they're not going to listen to you, so you have to stage an intervention and take the car away because what else can you do? And that's old people.
That is old people, yeah, and that's one of the two really big demographics of dangerous drivers: old people and young men. Young men are actually a high-risk demographic. Just, I mean, I did at one point drive a bit recklessly, had a close call and went, oh no, I can't do that. That's actually really bad. So no, those two demographics are definitely, old people, absolutely. But I mean, she's only 24. That's the thing. Like, she's definitely not an old person. But
no, she should know better.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to go to the next one?
We're just doing the main ones, aren't we? I've got to stop.
Yeah, just the main ones. Yeah.
So someone else, opinionated 6319. I don't know if you can see that one.
Not really. That's all right.
That's not a main one. I've got to stop clicking the down button things. Okay, yeah. Extinct Diplodocus. Well, all Diplodocuses would be extinct. Not the arsehole. She's not only is she a bad driver, she refuses to take any responsibility. Both of her major accidents were entirely her fault, but you should get over it. You'd be crazy to let her drive. Given her retaliation via PC, you also need to evaluate whether you'd be crazy to stick with her. Yeah, like at this point, you're both being a bit immature. And like she's just matching your denial or your no with more no's, like a passive-aggressive response. That's very passive-aggressive. That was like, well, you can't play with my toys if I can't play with your toys. That's the vibe that's giving. Like she's just you can't be passive aggressive about this stuff. That's insane.
Yeah, and I think that's going to just lead to a childish retaliation by the guy, lead to a childish. Like, really, we're like so many of these posts, it's just a failure to communicate. She feels embarrassed. He feels upset because she's expecting to drive his car and he's worried about it. Instead of sort of doing this, well, you're a bad driver, shame you, saying, hey, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my car, because he isn't trying to punish her and she's taking it that way, right? But that isn't what's happening here.
No, he's being practical.
He's afraid. That's what it is. He's afraid of his car being totaled and he can't get to work and all of these other things, but he's not communicating that. He's communicating to her, "You're a bad driver."
Right. So he'd be coming at it from a different perspective.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
he's not clear enough about why he just doesn't want to deal with a wrecked car.
And his girlfriend may, like, if he can get across that in a very adult kind of way, she might go, "Look, I'll be really careful with your car. I won't, if I'm getting bored, I won't drive it." You know what I mean? Like, there's other
Come
things
to
you
an
can come to
arrangement.
agreements. Right. "I won't take it over this amount of speed. I won't tailgate," kind of thing. "I promise I won't." And then, you can trust her on that or not. But it's sort of, it's just not an adult conversation. It's a, "No, you can't drive my car because you've crashed, and then you can't use my computer." It's just a terrible way to go about it.
Yeah. Yeah, you could teach her, like, how to drive properly. I think Left-Handed Jedi. I kind of the only problem I see with someone like her, and this is me being very negative, is when you start to suggest these people change their behavior and try harder, they double down and refuse because they don't see the problem. Like, I think if he criticized her driving, she would just get worse and worse because he already has.
It depends on how you come about it, right? If you're sort of saying, "Hey, you've crashed twice already," kind of thing. It's she's going to get defensive. But if you come at it like, "Well, I'm afraid because if the car gets totaled, it's my life is going to get significantly harder," and get her to understand that, hey, it's about how I feel about it, not necessarily you. She may be more receptive to that, like, instead of blaming her. People don't, they're not amenable to your suggestions when you blame them for stuff. It's better to talk about what you would like in the future than blame them for stuff.
No, I personally don't. When I get these sorts of people, I don't trust that they would be amenable. That's my perspective, though. I don't feel like she would be, but I don't know this person, so she's just a vibe. I just get a vibe of she wouldn't be amenable to criticism because she's taken such offense. Yeah, she's the vibes are off with her.
I don't.
The vibes are off just with both of them, but I'm looking at her age as well, like the mid-20s. This constant thing of, "Oh, your brain hasn't developed before 25." I don't believe that entirely, but I think that's such a stupid benchmark to apply to people between the ages of 20 and 24. Like, come on.
Okay.
But at the same time, sorry.
The comments as well. No, that's okay. I get
need
that.
Another comment?
No. Well, if you want, sure.
Oh, do you mean like your comments or the Reddit
Well,
comments?
usually I save the people's comments for afterwards because I go through chat's comments and go through them and talk about them after the Reddit ones. Oh, geez, and I'm not doing my job because I didn't put the poll up because that reminded me, it like gives me time for people to react to the poll. And I didn't do it. So go through another comment and I'll get this poll.
Okay, so the next one, wasted space. Not the arsehole, regardless of your reasoning, your girlfriend is not entitled to driving your car. If she brings it up again, bring up all of the things she's done while driving the other cars. But also, do you really want to stay in a relationship with someone like this? The bad driving, immature pettiness, not allowing use of her PC, lack of self-awareness and inability to take no as an answer. Like, I think the way she responded to you uncovers a lot more issues than this one with bad driving. So that's the sense that I'm getting as well, that if that's how she feels about driving and not taking no for an answer, because that's also what's happened. She hasn't taken no for an answer. She needs to be spoken to and approached in a completely different way. Like, I think she needs to be, whether this is a harbinger of your relationship decaying because one of you is a little bit.
I feel hesitant on commenting about issues outside of just what they've posted, right? Because we don't know. Like, I've known people to be just awesome people, except for that one thing that they do, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I think that is entirely possible. A lot more issues than just bad. Is it though? Like, you don't know that for sure. It might just, like, some people are just terrible drivers and everything else about them is just fine, like that's, like, she may have a problem with spatial reasoning.
Right.
So if you're unfamiliar with it, spatial reasoning is sort of that ability to know which shapes will go into which spaces, for instance, knowing how to fit things to, or whether something will fit through. So it's almost modeling spatial perceptions in your head. And if you work in, I don't know, finance or something, or you're an accountant and you've got bad spatial reasoning, there's no real place that's going to come in to affect your life, except maybe driving, for instance. So I don't think that this is more issues necessarily, right? I don't think that that's actually the case. But this does raise the question of, if she's screwed up, are you going to trust her to A, change, or B, address the issue, or not? And if you can't trust your significant other to address problems in your life, then it may be a problem.
Yeah. I think this is like one of those, like, this is the first proper argument they've had in their relationship where it could go either way. So yeah, but it would depend on both of them being a bit more sort of aware of the other's actual feelings rather than actions, I guess.
Yeah.
Like she might actually feel absolutely terrible and she's just covering up that with whatever attitudes as well. Like, that might be a thing that she covers her shame with, a lot of nonchalance or perception of nonchalance, I think. I don't know. I'm thinking too much about how these people are thinking.
Well, I want to go to the chat and see what the chat says. So, and sorry, I'll read this out because you don't have access. Or do you just want to read the ones that are on screen?
I can see the ones that's up there now. So
okay, we'll read
okay. Just when it costs more to repair than it's worth, it doesn't mean you wrapped your car around a light pole. Right.
Yeah.
So the written off part. Yeah, correct.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So written off or total just means that you did enough damage that the repair bill would outweigh getting a new car. So you just go for it. Yeah. Andrew Christopherson. Hello, Andrew. Hey, Jen.
I've also known it used for general terms, like it's not worth dealing with personal. It's become a blanket term for this person's a write-off. This issue's a write-off. Or
no, that's fair. That's
or
fair.
Totaled. Yeah.
And Andrew also says,
yeah, I've got to watch out for my roaming spruce.
yeah,
them roaming spruces that season. Roaming spruce season. Oh boy.
And Maya, hello Maya.
I never let anyone drive my cars. They're not on the insurance. Yeah, that's fair. That's a safer way to look about it too. Like, even if they're offering, like, worst cases you can't drive and you need somebody to drive for you, and you make an exception for that. But again, I'd only trust somebody to drive me around if I trusted them.
At some point, if this is a long-term relationship in any way, you would assume that they would share a car. I mean, even if it's a sort of polygamous relationship, you still have shit to do. You know what I mean? Like, you still have things to do. So, I don't know. It seems like that they're headed towards, if it's a serious relationship, sharing more than a car. Yeah.
And that is gonna affect other sharing things.
Hello, Ralph.
Sounds like a bit of an asshole for both of them. Incompatible sphincters. Yeah.
Maybe. We don't know. I mean, really, I wouldn't comment on. I mean, he says he loves her. That's the only thing that's bothering him. In the grand scheme of things, just having a girlfriend that doesn't drive very well, I mean, it's not a huge deal. Like, you could be, one person could be MAGA and the other one a progressive, like that's
a problem.
Contention. That's a problem. The driving thing can be fixed. That's the thing. It's like, it can be fixed. It's not. Yeah,
you got to watch with the ents.
Yeah.
The way he describes how he takes care of the car was giving me red flags. Some people care more about things than people, but hearing her attitude towards driving, she sounds dangerous.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
both of them.
yeah. He's probably being a bit too overprotective of a car.
Mhm. Well,
True.
and he's also very young, and this is the first nice car he's bought. Like,
Yeah.
so I can understand how, like, your first car is like, "Oh, I've got to protect it and stuff." But when you get older, you're like, "Yeah, it's just a freaking car." Like,
Yeah.
seriously.
This is just a mode of transportation.
I do know people that love cars all their lives, but me, it's
Mhm.
just a way to get me to where I need to be. And I think that as people get older, they realize that the car doesn't make you who you are. And I also want to say, don't ever hassle people for taking public transport. I think that it's completely fine. Like, I think that this sort of, you know, oh, you're taking public transport, you must be. No, get out of here. It's just public transport. It's fine.
It's a neutral thing. It's just an alternative to driving around. In some cases, if you design a city well enough, you'd negate cars altogether,
Yep.
which is what they're trying to sort of work towards. But nobody's going to, this is another problem too. Everyone's like, oh, they're going to take my cars away like it's a gun. Like some, the crazy types that are just like, oh, if we make these pedestrian friendly cities, then I have to give up my car. Like they'll come for my everything. Like it's their new gun. Yeah, cars are guns. They can kill others in the wrong hands. But you can't treat it like, oh, my car, you're going to take it away from me if we make a 15-minute city, that concept. Nobody said anything about taking away your car. We're just saying you can't use it in certain areas.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. That's the whole thing. You can use your car. Just okay. So you can't drive exactly where you want to anymore. Sometimes
and just improving the pedestrian ways, kind of thing. So they bridge roads and things like that. Yeah, no one's. They're talking about designing it so you can do it, not that you have to walk, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Left-handed Jedi.
If she doesn't like to pay attention while driving, sorry, she's a menace, in my honest opinion.
A little bit, yeah. Al, hello, Al.
Attention to driving is super important. I agree.
Yep.
Is tailgating not a thing everywhere? Did we?
Yeah. No, I think
I'll get the
yeah.
Oh, you're indignant. Yeah, tailgating.
Indignant.
Yeah, I agree. Some people do that in lines when you're just standing. People tailgate you physically because they're so impatient. Like you feel like some people just exist like that constantly. That they're constantly up somebody's butt trying to get around them, and they're no different in a car than they are on foot. That's
What I'm not 100% sure that's true.
Dan Andrew, yes, yeah. I did hear about this. I can't remember what the particulars were. He got a lot of bad spin though. He had a blacklist to get away from it. Yeah. But what's the context? Did he do it as a kid or did he do it recently? I'd have to look it up. I'd have to look the whole thing up, and the press isn't going to give me the truth about Dan Andrews. He doesn't even do the job anymore. He quit. Sorry. Okay. Did we figure out the poll?
Yeah, I was just looking at it. Apparently there's sort of conflicting statements, kind of thing, about who was in the right and who was in the wrong. And yeah, I think that the politicians should be held to exactly the same standards as everybody else. But here's the thing about it. In Australia, a bicycle is a vehicle, right? So you are under the same road rules as everybody else. So just with a drug test, I think the main thing was he wasn't breathalyzed at the time. I think that was the main thing. And yeah, that is similar.
Okay.
But
that's dodgy. Yeah. Fair enough.
It shouldn't be like that. I agree. I think he should be treated as just another member of the public. That's absolutely terrible. But that might not mean that the accident was his fault, because if you are obeying the road rules and a cyclist has a collision with you, it is not necessarily your fault. That cyclist is considered, for all intents and purposes, a car under the road rules in Australia. So if they like change lanes and you're just going straight, they're in the wrong. Right. So I don't know. I don't know about that one. I really
Yeah, I think no, he hit the bike rider when he was in government. No drug test. Like, yeah, it sounds like he got out from under a regulation that a normal person should have faced. If that's the case, then yeah, that's I don't. Again, the cops and politicians in this country, we need a whole separate video for that.
Yeah. When was this? It was apparently 2023. It was reported.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't know when it actually happened. I just remember vaguely hearing about it.
Yeah, I really think that, and plus any collision, sort of both parties, unless it's a rear end, both parties are seen as partially at fault kind of thing. But yeah,
Right.
I think that he should have been treated like any member of the public should be.
Yep.
And I don't know whether that warranted a breathalyzer or not. I couldn't say. I don't know. So yeah.
Insurance isn't ubiquitously regulated. I did see that before. Al. Yes, we treat it so differently over here too. We treat insurance very differently in this country as well. Both we segregate health and general insurance. That's the biggest thing we do.
Correct.
And we have more onus on the public through registration, like through Rego, what we call Rego. I think over there everything's as privatized as it can be in terms of insurance. I don't even know if there's like any sort of especially in car insurance. Yeah, it's like I don't think it differs. It differs state to state here. I think they've got different rules for driving in different states, but insurance-wise, I think they're usually pretty here. They're pretty uniform. But over there, yeah, you could have one company that would pay out for something and one that wouldn't, and they're both allowed to behave however they want. So yeah, we have standards over here. I don't like using that word and saying that, but we do have bare minimum standards for a lot of that stuff. Andrew, yeah, I'd like to keep 2 car lengths at least between the car in front of me, maybe because I lived in the woods with deer and winter snow.
I have no idea what that's like. We've got roos over here, Andrew, so I don't think you're you know, and I do know of at least 2 people. One of them I knew pretty well, that a kangaroo came out of the bush while they were driving and kind of shouldered their car as they were driving along. I don't know why the kangaroo did this. I don't know what happened to this kangaroo, but it didn't seem phased at all that it had put dents in a car. The kangaroos over here are scary, mate. Absolutely.
Yeah, they are, and I don't think they're that scared of cars.
No. And
not like other animals.
You have massive road trains over here, and they have rhubars. They're like bull bars, but sort of heavier. And they're designed so that the roo won't go into the. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. Yeah. So I don't think you're any. I think you're actually in better condition than we are.
My state, the car is only insured to the people on the policy. My children have insurance for their cars, but if they wreck mine, it's not covered. Yeah. So it's. Yeah, I think it's a state by state. But yeah, it's like some policies. To be fair, when I talk about insurance, I wasn't heavily involved in what we call general insurance. My area of expertise was health, which was actually completely different. It was operated completely differently to how anything else is operated. So I have a very superficial understanding of car house insurance comparatively to health insurance, because that's bad. I find it interesting as a concept, because people sometimes think it's just an extortion thing to pay a company that's not going to pay you back for things that it should pay you back for. And I can understand that incident recently of the CEO and the insurance company. I get it. Insurance to some people is a waste of money. They don't see the benefit in it if they can pay for things themselves.
Yeah, but I think those people haven't had a major crisis happen to them.
Exactly.
Like they actually experienced, like I don't think I've experienced. Actually, I've experienced one thing major, but I can certainly see the value of having, even if you don't need it, it's nice to have it there.
Yeah, they don't think in those terms, but yeah, that's what it's for. It's there for a reason. You'll appreciate it when it covers something that you personally cannot afford.
Yeah,
like that's when you have to see it really pay out dividends, like actually cover your stuff to appreciate what it's actually there for. Baron Milo 3. Hello. With her history, why would she insist on driving, especially if he cares about the car so much? I think she just likes driving.
Yeah, and I think that it's convenient for a lot of people, even though they might be dangerous on the road. They see it as, well, I've got to get to here kind of thing. They're really thinking about their own life and not anybody else's out there. It's weird because you do see people that have actually been charged and told by a judge that they can't drive anymore for driving drunk or something, and they still do it. And you have to go, what are you thinking? Like, wow.
They don't care. They really don't care.
Yeah. And some people don't like public transport. They don't. They feel embarrassed on public transport, and it's like, why? It's perfectly fine. Like Keanu Reeves takes public transport. Just get over it and stop.
Come on.
Stop. Judging yourself by what you're driving, please.
As a professional driver, I see a lot of stupid shit. Learn safe driving. Keep practicing your skills. Yeah, I think we teach kids how to drive, but we don't teach them to drive defensively. I think there's a big difference in driving safely and just learning the bare minimum skills required to operate a vehicle. That is a big difference.
And I know our trucker is actually a trucker, so I can imagine. And you've got to keep in mind that if you brake suddenly in front of a car, it might not be any big deal. If you brake suddenly in front of a truck, that truck driver, it's a lot harder to stop like a freaking 5-ton truck than it is to stop, a small car kind of thing. And I think people forget that. I try to, like things like buses and trucks, I try to give them more leeway, like absolutely more room than I would a car, because I know that anything goes down, that truck is so much like the amount of, it's just physics. Because the heavier something is, the more force is required to move it, but the more force is going to come out on the other end when it suddenly stops. So it's just a good idea to make allowances for big vehicles. Let's see. There we go.
I mean, I still don't like being forced to have insurance. If you get a kickback for no accidents for a few years, then it wouldn't feel so bad. Yeah, we actually have better rules around this as well. So we do have something like that here. It's just like if you do have a good track record, we'll charge you less than if you don't have it. That's why you have to cough up your driving history. We have a very fairer system in terms of insurance because we have ombudsmen and because we have regulation. The government comes in and tells us what to do, how to run it. So
Maya's saying that they raise the rates less frequently if you don't use it.
Everything. It does come down to money. Some of these things really do come down to, well, some person doesn't care if it costs $500 to fix their car. Another person's like, well, that's my rent money gone because I had to fix my car. It's subjective as to how badly you need like money that week. At this point, anyway, it seems to be all down to, what can I afford to do on a week-to-week or a day-to-day basis. And if you feel like you're in, sorry?
Andrew says that they always find a cuse or a reason to raise it if you live. It's actually cheaper when I was living in Kenosha.
Right.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah, that is interesting.
100%. Every time I move, the rates go up. That certainly doesn't happen here. Like, if you haven't had a crash, you can move anywhere in Australia and your rates won't go up because of it. There's no way.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going to gouging tactics, whether that's become a problem, they're just sometimes, it seems like, what are you actually charging for here versus what you're actually going to pay out ultimately. It's messy.
There's another one. Public transport is in terrible condition and buses pass every 1 hour. It's usually full of homeless people and very dirty and old.
Yeah, it has to be a well-managed public transport system. Yeah. We do have problematic people on trains because they do go out to very distant suburbs. That's the other problem with Perth, with the place we live. I don't know if I'm supposed to say. Sorry.
We're in Perth. We're in Perth. No,
Yeah.
all good, all good. I've said that many times.
We're notoriously a satellite city. We've literally only had just one train station built in a suburb that's been there for, over 20 years now. We're very slow, and the further out you get from the central business district of most cities, yes, the lower the socioeconomic demographic is. But yeah, the transport system itself has to be supported and clean and safe for people to want to use it. And I don't think every city does that.
No.
We've been to different cities, and some of them are fantastic and some of them are trash.
Yeah.
Yeah. Melbourne was good. I liked ferries in Melbourne.
Yeah, the trams were really good. I got to admit. Is taking a shower boring too? Going grocery shopping? There's some things you have to take from. Yeah, adulting is hard, yo. It's hard. I get you. There's some things you just have to do that you don't want to do. I get you. Oh no. Oh god. I want to hear about the reckless driving incident. Okay, Mama, just because it's you. Okay, so keep in mind I was very young. I was like 18 and sort of, only had my license for a little bit of time, and I was a bit of an idiot. So I basically was driving fast in order to impress a girl, and I didn't lose control, but I definitely had to I basically skidded a bit and had to sort of do an emergency stop, essentially. So that means sort of putting it in neutral, putting on the brake, pulling up the park brake, right? So if you want to stop in a real fucking hurry, the park brake is your emergency stop, and that will stop you, but it has to be done right. But luckily I was taught an emergency stop kind of thing. So
is that like clutch and brake at the same time?
Yeah, well, you sort of put on the normal brake and pull up the it's called the emergency brake, but the park brake at the same time. So this is a manual car. So you basically pull it up, and that will provide extra braking power if you need it, because this car wasn't a power braking system. It didn't have anti-skid braking.
Right.
So that scared the shit out of me, not so much because I was in danger, but I'd put somebody else in danger. I'm not proud of it. It was the wrong thing to do. It was a terrible mistake and something that I never, ever repeated. It was absolutely awful. And I was absolutely, we could have died. I was going very fast, which is dangerous. It's dangerous and irresponsible. And I was young and stupid, but that's no excuse. That is a stupid thing to do. And it wasn't impressive, having to emergency brake because you've acted like an idiot impresses nobody.
Right.
What impresses people, what impresses the girls is driving well, not driving recklessly.
Yeah, unless they're the girls that like the doughies, because there are girls that want you to do doughies, but they're a special type of person.
I mean,
you're not going to do a doughy for a girl. Sorry.
Let's see. Has anybody else commented on it? They're talking about public transport.
Yeah, I agree.
Andrew says she might take that offensive if you help teach her drive better. Yeah, she might. But, it's definitely better than sort of going, no, you're not driving my car, and not trying to find a solution to what is obviously a problem.
Yeah. Sorry, Phantom X, a doughy is a donut, like doing donuts. We call them doughies over here. So you're just skidding, and that's happens here a lot in country towns because we don't give kids nothing to do. So they like to do reckless driving stuff, and one of them is burnouts in circles, donuts.
What says maturation is fact, not fiction. As we age, we lose reaction time speed and hopefully gain wisdom and emotional maturity. Yeah, hopefully. Although there is people in arrested development, they're basically children. Acting like adults, but definitely your reflex is slow. Absolutely, that is absolutely just a fact. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I agree, Andrew. They should take guns away if they're going to act like children and treat them as toys. Yeah. But what's weird is it's easier to get a gun in America than it is to get a car.
Yeah,
I don't know why that is.
Yeah, that shouldn't be the case in any country. I don't know why. The NRA seems to have more pull on policy than any other organisation when it comes to that.
Oh, hi, Richard. Really good statement from Richard. Peace and respect. Therapy for non-writing driver and story. So the girlfriend drive car on racetrack. Sure. I mean, if she wants to drive fast and recklessly, that would be the place to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least if she hits something in a race car, it's semi-protected. I don't know. I thought they had like. It sounds like she needs to get into like. I'm not saying she needs to, but it's going to take like a terrible accident for her to change her attitude. That's sad because some people like that. It sometimes takes. You really have to. They really have to face the consequence of their actions on a grander scale to change their behaviour.
Okay, Sterling, you've got terrible road rage. Yeah, I get you. It can be really frustrating. Like I've said, there's no real such thing as anger. It's a secondary reaction to an emotion. So I think that really thinking about what you're afraid of, like whether you're afraid of being late or you're afraid of being treated as a second-class driver to everybody else. Really look at why it is that you're getting angry at these people. That did help me, but yeah, I mean, I get that it's frustrating at times because, you know, you're running late and people are driving slow, or, you know, someone cut in and you're like, well, they're just disrespecting me. I get that, but it's just, you know, just you have to let it go, mate. You really do, and examine why you're getting angry, because it's not a good place to be in. Yeah, totally, Ember. Fully loaded tractor traveling at 60 miles per hour can take 200. Yeah, and Ember does truck driving as well. So yeah, I'm looking out for you. What drives me crazy is when buses are pulling out. They have a sign on them, and legally you're supposed to give way. If the bus puts on its indicator, you have to give way to it. Right? That is the law. And people don't. They just go, oh, I don't want to be stuck behind a bus, and go past. And it's just like, oh, come on. He's trying to get out into traffic in a frigging bus. Like, seriously.
Yeah. No, that did happen the other day. The truck driver thought they could get through and squished both of them side by side, so neither of them could get out, and they were stuck there for hours. That was a truck driver trying to get past a bus on a very narrow road. He thought he could get by, didn't. Yeah.
Your rates went up when you changed your gender market. They should go down.
I forgot about that. I don't think we have that over here as much. Maybe we don't anymore. I don't think they can do that anymore here. I forgot about that being a thing, that women are categorically supposedly worse driver. I think this is a historical throwback to, because they didn't think women would want to drive in the first place when cars were invented. So like a woman driving wasn't. So they're terrible. Some men do think women are just terrible drivers, like just blanket statement. So if that's it doesn't surprise me.
Some men think women are terrible at IT and technical things, and I've worked in companies. Some of the best IT people have been women. They did this thing with a woman and a guy switched their email addresses so that the clients, they were engineers and like computer engineers or system engineers, and they switched their email addresses and started responding, and she got treated so well and he got treated like crap because people don't think that a woman can do IT work, and it drives me crazy. Oh, don't be so hard on young Mark Reed. He was not less intelligent than you are today. Yeah, but I definitely less wise, and you know, I had to learn that lesson, and luckily I learned that lesson without any real serious consequences. But you know, that doesn't, I'm not being hard on myself. I know that I made a mistake. It's just that was the wrong thing to do, and I want to reinforce that kind of thing. Sorry, I'm just going through and seeing if anything jumps out at me, because there's a lot of comments. More than usual. I'm
very
so
busy.
happy that more people are here than usual. It's fantastic to have you all. Fantastic.
Had a few people.
I think that'll probably do it. We'll move on to the next one, because that one thing took us an hour. So we're definitely running slow, people. I apologize. Okay. Next off the block is my turn. From
Mhm.
Old Lunch 6128. Am I the arsehole for skipping Sunday dinners at my parents' over my sister's dog? It depends on the situation. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, if you're allergic to their dog or something, totally understandable. Like, there's no way you should put up with that.
No.
It's like being forced to go to the park if you've got hay fever. Why would you be terrible for doing that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, first off, we want to close up that poll, and everyone is immoral. I kind of agree with that, to be honest with you. I
Yeah.
think he's reacted really badly, and she's
Mhm.
a terrible driver. Just a terrible driver.
Yeah.
You know.
That's fair.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and let's I know that Robin Webster drives a truck. She drives a milk hauling truck, and I can't do that. Right? I can't drive a truck. She's definitely a better driver than I am because I don't have those skills. So absolutely. Absolutely true. What do you think on first blush?
Of this new one?
Yeah.
Well, I get it. If it's an allergy thing, no. If it's that you don't like dogs, maybe.
Don't like the dog, maybe.
But I'm not a huge fan of dogs. If you've got a badly behaved dog, I might be.
To them.
Not as much as cats, but yeah, I'm very allergic to all sorts of things.
You're still allergic to them. That's the thing. It's not like you're going, well, I just don't like your dog. But some dogs, like dogs that jump up on me and like aren't trained, they do annoy me, and I don't like to be around them, to be honest with you. You know, I mean, is the dog humping his leg? If so, then and they refuse to do anything about it, then I can see that. I can see that you're not being an arsehole.
No.
For my entire life, my parents have hosted Sunday family dinners. Even as we all grew up and moved out, we come back every week. None of us 4 kids live with my parents, but we see each other weekly. Early last year, my sister bought a black lab, and that's presumably a Labrador and not like a black site or something. A few months ago, she started bringing it to dinner. My wife and I do not like dogs. We both simply don't want to be around them. We've tried tolerating it, but being annoyed by a dog is not how we want to spend Sundays. It's not a dangerous dog, but it's always kind of there, wanting pets, sniffing, bothering us. You can tell it to go away. It goes away, but it will come back a few minutes later. I asked my parents why my sister started bringing it and if it can stop. She said when she was over during the week, she started bringing it, and then eventually to Sunday dinner. They said they'd talk to her. The following Sunday, the dog was there. It was more of the same behavior and annoyance by my wife and I. We opted to skip the following Sunday. This past Sunday, I asked my mum if the dog was going to be there. She said probably, and she said she wanted to keep bringing her dog. I told her we'd skip again. I think that sent a message to my mum. Yesterday, I got a call from my sister. She flipped out on me saying I was a selfish a-hole for not wanting the dog over on Sundays. She told me the dog is part of the family now and I need to accept it. I was like, the dog isn't my family. I called her insane for thinking we should just accept that as a fact. The conversation was tense and ended with no resolution. Am I the arsehole? Well, so yeah, kind of. There's a lot better ways to go about this. Like if you actually had a conversation with your sister and said, look, I don't like dogs. So the idea that dogs have to be accepted as people because they're part of your family. What's your thoughts on that?
Me don't even. I'm so cautious about what I say about pets. I'm so cautious because I have had conversations with people who do feel this way, and they feel it very strongly, and I don't want to take that away from them. On the other hand, it's her responsibility to make sure the dog behaves. If it's a puppy and it's a black lab, it's probably going to be a bit excitable. But if it's still acting like that and she's not teaching it to say, hey, these people, like if she's not training it to behave accordingly in all circumstances, then the dog's just going to keep doing what it does. And it doesn't necessarily mean that she has to bring it because it's part of the family. It sounds like she can't get somebody to take care of it, so she has to take it everywhere she goes.
Well, I mean, dogs can stay home for a few hours. It's not a problem, you know, like even if they're sort of, you know, in the backyard or in, you know, leaving them for days at a time is really irresponsible. But, you know, just going out and leaving your dog at home isn't a big deal.
No.
But what comes to mind is, should you be uncomfortable for the sake of somebody else's dog? And I would say no. I think that sort of saying, hey, we don't like dogs is a perfectly reasonable place to be. I know there's people that have dogs and they think everybody should love dogs. That is not the case in all circumstances, that people just love dogs. You know,
Right.
I don't, you know, I think that sort of expecting people to accept your pets is a bit of a problem.
Right. As an extension of being another human being in these circumstances.
Because it's not.
Yeah,
It's not a
it's
human
not.
being. It's not, you know, it's not a human. It's not part of your family. It
Yeah.
is a pet. And we don't give sort of, you know, the same rights to animals as we do to humans for that reason. And yes, I know humans are animals, but we don't give the same rights to pets. And like that's not to say they shouldn't have some rights, but if you are upset by the dog doing what it does, I just feel like a compromise can be made. You can bring the dog, but you keep it outside, and then they have you know, some place that they're not being bothered by the dog.
Right. Yep.
You know, if they're saying, hey, we don't like the dog being anywhere in the place, you've got to get rid of it.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a problem. You know, that's a bit unreasonable kind of thing.
Yeah. Like if you put it in a room, like lock it in a room for the time that people are there. Like it sounds to me like the dog might be at that stage where if you do leave it in a room, it's going to cause problems. I don't know how old the dog is, but if you don't, like, it doesn't sound like a very chilled out dog. It sounds like a very puppy or a very excitable animal, and they react differently to being left alone. And sometimes you have to put them in a room or put them on a little thing. But if that's not good enough for this couple, which I don't see why it wouldn't be, because at least the dog's not around them personally, that might be a solution. But you've kind of just made the mother the go-between,
right? And that's what I was going to say.
Like not really. You should have gone to the sister first and just dealt with the sister, not the parents,
and said, hey, you know, we really don't like dogs. You know, I because there's something we can do to have the dogs not be around us, kind of thing, because, you know, we really don't like dogs and feel you know, sort of upset if they're around us, kind of thing. And see if you can work out.
Dogs.
Well, if your sister has to bring the dog and your mother allows it, then really it's just they're doing the right thing in that case. They're basically not going. They're not saying, hey, you can't come. They're sort of saying, well, we're not going to go if that dog's going to be in our face. So I don't see them as, like, you know, I don't see them as being horrible in that sense, but the way that they've sort of gone to their mum but not the person that owns the dog is kind of, you know,
I think they thought because they're going to the parents' house, the parent should be policing who comes in the house.
There's a big difference between, and here's where it gets lost in the source. There's a big difference between your sibling coming up to you and saying, hey, I really don't like dogs. You know, I know you love your dog, but I really don't like dogs. So is there a way we can keep it away from me and my wife that we both don't like dogs, kind of thing? As your mother coming to you and saying, hey, your brother has said that they don't like dogs, you know, you can't bring your dog anymore. There's two really radically different ways that's going to be received, right? So in one case, it's your sibling coming up to you and saying, hey, we don't like dogs, and the other one, your mum saying, you can't bring your dog anymore, right, because of what your sibling has said. There's you know, there's a world of difference. And maybe the sister will go, oh, you don't like dogs, you weirdo, you insane person, kind of thing, and then that's on them. You know, like, they're not receptive to what you're saying. That's their problem.
This could have been done as a three-way conversation, because you're clearly all in the same house at the same time. Could you have not got the sister and the mother together and had a chat about it and just been like, well, I get the mother is okay with it, and it's the dog's coming over and they like the dog. But if he just had the conversation with both of them and said, like, but it affects us every time we come here, and we don't want to have to stop coming because of this dog. Like they could have. It does sound like he was deferring to the mother in the hope the mother would just tell her to stop bringing the dog, and the mum was like, "No, talk to your sister about it." Like sometimes you just have to have a family meeting. This is something you could have just all together said, "Hey, look, how do we resolve this?" Rather than.
Well, the mother didn't say that. It looks like the mother said, "No, I will talk to them." You know, like instead of, "Hey, do you think we could have a talk with them and sort of present your side of things?" It's kind of this going through a third party that seems to, again, a failure to communicate. Right. Or not wanting dogs. Family gathering. Look, I'm not going to judge or interpret anybody else's likes and dislikes, kind of thing. If they don't like dogs, they don't like dogs. They may have had trauma associated with it. You just don't know. So like what annoys me, and I don't mind dogs at all. I don't think this situation would concern me at all. But it annoys me that people that own dogs are basically like, well, everyone should like dogs. Why? Not everyone likes cats. I like cats. I don't expect everybody in the world to like cats. That's totally fine. I just, this whole idea of because I like X animal, everyone should like X animal. It's a bit weird. Like, what else do we do that with? No. If I like cars, you have to like cars. I don't think it works like that.
True. Yeah, pets seem to hold this other realm of regard to other things that you can own as a person. I mean, like we were looking after that dog, that poor three-legged dog. We were basically its parents for the entire time the owner was gone, and that was malnourished, and it was a total mess. And it seemed to me, it seemed to me like she was the type of person, I own a dog for the sake of owning a dog, but I have no idea how to look after it. Like it felt to me like it was just, well, I have a house, so I'm going to get a cat and a dog and look after neither. The cat was never around. The cat was feeding itself practically. Like she just owned pets for the sake of owning pets. Other people love their pets. They just love their pets to the point they can't live without them. And that's I feel bad when people lose a pet like that.
I don't have a problem with that, but I have a problem with, because you love your pet, you expect others to love it too.
It's like, why do you not love my, like, nobody's under any obligation to love your dog as much as you do.
Trixie says, I'm going to say not an arsehole. Ultimately, at your parents' house, that's correct. If they're happy to allow the dog, then your sister is fine to bring it along. But it's also fine that you choose to skip Sunday dinners because the dog is there. Correct. Yeah. So this is basically, you can't change what other people are doing, but you can change what you're doing. Again, not your house, not your rules, but you're entitled to feel the way you do about the goings on and take action to make yourself feel better. Yeah. So this is, I do agree that this guy, he is making boundaries around how he feels, and that's healthy, right? So he's saying, hey, if the dog's going to be there, then I won't, because I don't like the dog. That's the way you feel. You're making boundaries. You're not expecting anybody else to maintain those boundaries. You're making them for yourself. So I don't see a problem with that. It seems a little overreactive. Why didn't you talk to your sister first, for example? Yeah, exactly what we were saying. Why go straight to the parents to say you don't like a dog sniffing around? I'd imagine that's what your sister is more offended about. It seems to me like, hey sis, me and my wife really don't appreciate being hounded by your dog. Can we compromise so it's at least in a different room while we eat dinner? Would have been a tad more appropriate than the blind side of going straight to the parents to try and get the dog banned, which, let's be honest, was what you were hoping for. You'll need to communicate more. Like, that statement could be put on 90% of these posts, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
There's certainly possible compromises before you just cut this tradition with your family completely. Yeah, I agree.
So that sounds more like their dynamics, the dynamic of the family goes through the parents as well. That's what that sounds like, that the siblings don't compromise with one another, or they don't. Yeah, he definitely sounded like, if I go to mum, she'll she'll get rid of the dog because it's her place, and then I don't have to tell the sister to do anything.
Yeah, the next one's interesting. Info. So this is somebody calling for more information. Why did you talk to your parents and not your sister? Have you talked to your sister about this before? I think a lot of this drama could be avoided if you spoke directly with your sister and said something along the lines of, I really enjoy spending time with you, but I don't feel comfortable around dogs. Would you be willing to leave your dog's name at home for Sunday dinner? Instead, your sister found out about your discomfort in a roundabout way. There's a large possibility that something got lost in translation. Yeah, as I was saying, between you talking to your parents and them talking to the sister. Your request is absolutely reasonable, but it's best to talk to your sister first instead of putting your parents in the middle. So they said, my sister knows we are uncomfortable. She's made snide comments before when you tell the dog to go away, for example. My wife and I's opinion is not some foreign concept to her. I talk to my parents because it is their house and they're the arbiters of sibling conflicts. Yeah, you're a grown-ass adult. You should be talking directly. Like, you sound like a child. Like, oh, I talk to my parents because it's their house and they sort out everything. No, you go and you say, hey, this is how I feel.
Right. Yeah. You're all adults. No, parents should not be. Sibling conflicts at that point. It's just you've gotten so used to the dynamic being the parents being in charge. Now you've all moved out. To be fair, families, it's very hard for families to break out of that dynamic, even when people leave home. I'm stuck with so many hangovers of things when I'm in my parents' house where it's like you feel infantilized because they haven't stopped treating you like the child. And so he's probably not anywhere near got any socialization concept of sibling resolution. It sounds like none of them have learned to communicate with each other. They've just depended on the parents to solve fights and put down rules, and then whatever they say goes. And he didn't get what he wanted out of that circumstance. But if she is aware, and she's being, you've actively tried to tell this dog to calm down and she's not reinforcing that dog's behavior because she thinks it's no big deal, then that would be annoying. Because sometimes dogs, they don't listen to everybody.
Not the asshole. The comparison saying, what if your sister doesn't like your wife is ridiculous. What?
I don't know where they got that from.
I don't know where they got that from. Was it maybe a response to an info comic or something?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
What if your sister doesn't like your wife? Well, if you're thinking that's equivalent, the dog is not part of your family. If your sister can't tolerate an afternoon without her dog, she can choose not to come, or maybe you can alternate weekends to your mother's house. One weekend you're there, next weekend your sister's not there. You and your family do not have to accept the dog as the family. You and your wife, no, that's fair enough. Like, just because you have a dog in your family, I'm a dog owner all my life, but I do not bring my dog to places where it can make other people uncomfortable. And as sort of a humanist, I've got to say that I believe that humans are prioritized over dogs. Sorry, they are. They're more important than dogs. If a building is burning down and you can save a human baby or a puppy, I'm saving the human baby every single time. I don't care how sort of, beloved the dog is to you. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is.
A person professionally forced to make that decision is going to pick the baby, I think, as well. So in any moral circumstance, that's why I'm very careful about saying stuff around people who love their dogs. And I'm not just saying they just like their dogs. It's their child. They treat it like their baby, and if they lost them, they would be as inconsolable as any other person in their life.
Well, I do acknowledge there is a bond between pets and owners. It is a significant bond. I totally get that. Some people do think of them as their children, and I get that. But
it can't be a priority over another human.
Well, I guess I'm fine with them thinking of their pets as their children. I'm totally fine with that. What I'm not fine with is expecting others to think of their pets as their children, right? That expecting you to treat their pets as human children, because it's okay if you want to act as if that's the case. They're your adopted fur baby. I get it. Like, you believe that way, but you can't expect others to behave in the same way. That's what I have a problem with.
Yeah. I think the next one is you're the arsehole. You aren't just dog people, fine, but you can let a dog be near you for a few hours, enjoy your family. That dog that you admitted isn't really a problem. It just kind of annoys you personally.
Yeah.
How do you deal with people that are just a little annoying that you have to see on a regular basis like work? It's not the same. That's a bad comparison.
It's not the same thing. Yeah.
You are not.
So
yeah.
there's a big difference between having people you've got to work at work and a dog that can be left at home. There's a big difference between the two. And sort of, so for a family dinner, the dog is not your family. I get that. Your sister may consider it part of her family, and that's fine. But there's no impetus for you to consider it your family.
Right.
What about not perfect toddlers running around? That's a bit different.
That's again, you discipline a child differently to how you discipline a dog.
You can't leave a child all by itself at home. That's the thing. You can with a dog. Your parents don't seem to mind it and see the dog during the week. If they decide to get a dog, would you not go to their house at all anymore? They may well do. They may well do. If the parents aren't sort of, putting the dog in another room, they may well not do. That's the thing. I've been plenty of events with dogs that non-dog people were at, and it's always easy enough to mention, hey, mind if we distract the dogs so they don't come near me? I'm not a fan of them. And there's plenty of people at the party will gleefully give them plenty of love that you and I want to dish out. It would be different if this dog would jump you and aggressive, or if you have a genuine fear, but it seems like you're just being wet sand about it. No, that you're being an arsehole, like seriously.
Yeah, that's
you don't get to say, hey, you like or dislike that thing. You shouldn't. Like your feelings aren't valid, like,
and
come
making
on now.
a comparison, like these false comparisons, like they're not comparative statements. Like
no,
like you're like, okay, yeah, I did work with very enthusiastic people who like to talk a lot. I'm not gonna kick him and say, hey, not as much as I wanted to kick them and tell them to go away and leave me alone. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to treat them like a dog. It's a false comparison. I don't understand why they're,
and sort of the whole idea that I mean, if you don't like toddlers, you won't hang around the toddler, but I don't know. It just seems like these false comparisons. You're right. False equivalencies, I guess they are. Let's see what the chat's got to say. Good to see you. I'm just going up to find the first one.
When do they start popping up on your screen? Because they seem to take there we go. Oh, do you do that?
I'm doing that.
Oh,
that's me. That's all me.
Okay.
I have the power.
Now I understand. Sorry.
Aunt Jess says it's not the dog's house; it's a guest in someone else's house. They don't have to be there. That is correct. Yeah. Yep. Clarifying statement: the dog doesn't have to be there. Well, either really. If like, have your boundaries. If your boundaries are breached for whatever reason, and you don't have to justify them to anyone. If you feel this way about dogs, you don't have to justify it. That's how you feel, and those boundaries are there. What says I'm suspicious of people who don't like animals besides eating them. Look, I don't really.
If they're aggressively against animals, because that suggests
if
to me
they're
not
cruel to animals or have like sort of a callous idea of their suffering, then that's a problem. But people that just don't like engaging with animals, it doesn't worry me. Doesn't worry me. I can't stand people who have dogs they can't control, says Rambat. I don't think that's the problem. But yes, I would agree.
They're a big problem where we live as well. Because we live at a park full of tiger snakes, and people let their dogs run off their leashes all the time, and I don't agree with that. And I'm very tempted to say, hey, tiger snakes, do you care about your dog enough to, tiger snakes,
if a tiger snake bites even a large dog, it's dead. There's no way you can save it.
And they can get. And it's a conservation area, so there's actually a cat ban around here as well that I found about, because there were a couple of stray cats. There's like areas where cats are definitely not wanted around here, because we have a lot of native stuff. Yeah, cats will kill a bird.
They're killers. They will kill birds, native birds. Andrew says, well, for me, dogs are kin, but I'm not a fan of ankle biters. I like to big doggies, but they also need to behave and know manners just like everybody else. Yeah, but that's not the problem here. It's sort of just sort of whether a person should be should you expect to have a person around your dogs? You know, and I think the answer is no. Let's Farm says, I'm a pet lover. I don't care what you say. My dog had a place on the couch and people didn't ask her to get down. Yeah, that's fine, Let's Farm, as long as it's your place.
If
I
it's a
don't
chill
see a
dog,
problem.
yeah. If the dog's just lying there, I'm not going to get
no,
angry
if
at
it's
it.
somebody else's place, that's a totally different story. Like, I get that that's a member of your family, but you can't go to somebody else's house and go, well, no, it deserves a seat because it's part of my family. Well, no, you can't expect other people to look at it that way. You just can't.
And my cat allergies they're not a joke, they're very severe. But, you know, my friend either puts it in a room and the cat just gets agitated. So she has a couple of cats in a very small apartment. She forgot and said, oh, yeah, I better put my cats away because of my irritatingly annoying allergies. But I'd have to take personal responsibility for not touching those cats as well. Like the dander thing's not my fault, but I literally, if I touch a cat, I have to wash my hands immediately after. I can't just wait for it. And even if you came home with cat dander on you and my eyes started itching, it would be because you'd been playing with a cat. So that ruins your life because I've now prevented you from either owning or playing with cats excessively. And I feel very bad about that. I don't feel good that people have to like change their pet's behavior. But that's why I take responsibility of not physically touching animals because that's just not something I can do. So, and if I do, I try to get the dander off me and wash my hands.
Well, it can just be a problem because in somebody's house where they have cats, like it's going to be everywhere.
Yeah, no, and I accept that. Yeah, and the dog might have been everywhere.
Yeah, sure. But you know, you deal with dogs' hair a lot better than cat hair.
With cat hair. Yeah, I'm one of those
Victoria
people.
said, we had a problem with dogs at the beach. My kids sold, but we brought our cat on a leash one time, and the off-leash dogs were, of course, going crazy, but not so much as the owners scrambling. Yeah. Look, I know people that walk cats on leashes. We once went down the beach, and a cat followed us down there. You know, really brave, really brave. But your cat is a Bengal tiger. Okay, I'm not sure how safe that is. I've seen Tiger King. It doesn't seem like it turns out well. Ember says, "Do you like dogs better with mustard or mayo?" That's hilarious.
Mustard. I don't mayo on a dog. I don't know.
That's true too. Mark must have dealt with some trauma about it. I haven't actually. I haven't. I've just never been into dogs really. I just haven't really. You know,
you're not a dog person. Like that's just the way that I hate that phrase, dog people and cat people. But some people just really don't dig on dogs.
Yeah, I love cats a lot more. I really do.
You are very much a cat person.
You don't need, telling Nash says you don't need to bring your dog to a family dinner. You should be able to leave the dog at home for a few hours. Yeah, I kind of agree. That's totally fine.
If you're worried about it tearing up the place, and
Reed has a good question. What about children? Everyone thinks you should like children as much as they do, even if their children objectively suck. I agree. I agree. I remember this stand-up by Bill Hicks who sort of said, you know, I know that you think your children are special. Like, I know you think that. I'm just here to tell you they're not.
They're not. They're
just children. Yeah. I get that, and sort of the idea to look at your children as something special, but not everybody likes children, and that's okay.
No, and that you shouldn't be offended by that either. Like that's a whole other thing of being child-free. That the amount of flack you get is you must hate kids. I never said I hated kids. I just don't like the idea of owning a kid. And just the fact that I said own a kid and not have a kid suggests to me.
Yeah, you don't generally own kids. And
right.
Something's gone terribly wrong with your society. I'm looking at you, Bible. I think that, so I don't enjoy really spending time with kids. I really don't. I would prefer to talk with adults. I'm not a huge fan of kids, but that doesn't mean to say I can't or I find them repulsive or anything. Not really, but all in all, I'm not a huge fan, and that's okay. I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's a good thing about that. I'm not allergic to children. just don't like them.
I'm okay with fats, not fond of them unless they're mine, mostly because they seem to always piss on my art. Okay, well that sounds like you have trauma with cats. Just saying. Just saying. If you're visiting, your dog should abide by the rules of the house. I agree. I totally agree. That is a good aimbot topic for next time. Yeah, I agree. Should you be forced to put up with people's children? I don't think so. I certainly don't think that you should be forced to take responsibility for people's children.
No.
Like if you're a sibling, like, oh, you're an arsehole for not taking care of my kid. No, you shouldn't expect that responsibility. Yeah, no, I think that's really bad.
I think we've seen posts like that where people literally like, my family will take care of this baby in the event that I'm not able to, and they don't run it by the family. They've just made that assumption. But as soon as they had the kid, like, yeah, my family will definitely look at, like, my parents will and my siblings will babysit this kid. I don't have to ask. And then the people have just been like, no, I never signed up for that. We never talked about that.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing that causes issues, because if you just assume that everyone's going to take your kid off your hands for any reason at any time, then you've got a few problems coming your way.
Yeah, and what says if you want best seat in my house, you have to move dogs? And I probably wouldn't go to your house. I probably wouldn't if I had to contend with having to move dogs. Like, I just don't really want to deal with that. Really don't.
Sometimes it's the dog's house. The dog runs the house, and that's just how everybody lives.
Rembrandt says the OP needs to upgrade in the sister department. Wow. Okay. You know what? I
just get a new sister.
Well, I don't necessarily blame the sister for the way she's reacted, because she's just had her parent come and say, "Hey, leave your dog at home because your brother doesn't like it." It's kind of I don't, that would be a, maybe he's mistaken about her knowing. It's just, I don't know. It just seems like a really weird way to find it out, rather than somebody coming up to you and saying, "Hey, I don't like dogs at all. Nothing personal against your particular dog, but could we leave it outside or something?"
Yep. But the way they've kind of said, he said to the mother that's like, well, if she's going to keep bringing the dog, I'd keep skipping dinner. And I think that sent a message to my mum. Like, so that sounds like, well, I've resolved the issue and mum's going to take care of it. And then the sister's obviously been told off effectively, or she might feel like the mum's telling her off about the dog when that probably didn't happen. And now they both feel chided, and you're in this childish sort of situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What says, my cats kill mice and rats. Not sure if they're a protected species in Australia. No, that's birds. It's birds. And
our birds,
we've had this problem
specifically.
in the past,
and other marsupials that are protected as well. I think cats.
Yeah.
Maybe not as big a problem, but they can be.
Yeah, so there's marsupial mice, there's kangaroo rats, which they're marsupials. They're just very, very small. That's all. They're very, very small marsupials. But it's mostly birds. They will get the native birds, because the native birds aren't used to a terrifying killer like a cat. They're used to, wombats.
We brought the cats in, and that's not fair on them.
Yup. Let's see. As a storyteller, you get along with kids. Oh, that's good. I generally just find it difficult, and I just don't. I don't like kids. I just don't, get a thrill out of interacting with them.
Yeah.
If bad as he is, one nugget about kids. Oh, it was a joke? Okay. Well, I have trouble picking up on jokes. I have trouble what? Did have one nugget. Make sure you like your kids. If you don't like your kids, you're doing something wrong as a parent. Well, I think that Jordan Peterson maybe likes his daughter a little bit too much and gives it way too much leeway. So maybe there's a limit on liking your kids.
Like your kids, just don't like your kids.
Yeah. So what we're talking about is letting them get away with anything. Like, don't like your kids that much, kind of thing. Kids are human, absolutely. Yeah, no, Sterling. It's just I don't have to.
Humans.
Yeah, they are tiny humans, but I generally, you know, I generally just I don't. Yeah, I'd prefer to have somebody, you know, be around somebody I can actually have a conversation with about sort of more meaningful things. And the poll says poster is morally correct at 55%. Okay. No, that's fair. That's fair. I totally get where the poster's coming from. Yeah, I just think he could have gone about it way differently. Like way differently. You know. That is an ad. Next one up is you.
Okay. So what do you...
I have old cicada.
Oh yeah, that's what I was skipping over that.
Yeah.
Okay. Old cicada. Okay. Am I the asshole for confusing my baby sister into believing I'm her mother? Okay. Here's a fun topic.
Okay.
Here's another fun topic I can go off on tangents for that you'll have to stop me.
Is this a parentification warning or what?
No, it's more of a how family dynamics are affected by young women having children.
Okay.
But I'll wait to see what's being said in this before I comment.
All right.
Hi guys. Wow, they're very friendly greeting. It's my first time on here, but I just need advice if you can please. I am 16, female. My dad passed away last year. Him and my mum had been divorced before that, and they used to split custody, and she's been remarried to my stepdad for years. My baby sister turned 1 a couple of days ago, and my mum is 5 months pregnant with a baby boy. I guess the problem started when my sister started teething. It was at the beginning of summer break, and my mum would just let her cry it out in the nursery alone, and my sister is loud. Not only was it annoying, but it also kind of sad because she's just a baby going through pain alone. So I used to grab her and try to soothe her. Being held and letting her chew on her fingers helped some, and I saw a TikTok of teething baby using a cucumber, and I tried that too, and it was like magic. Anyway, I thought babies... I have no idea. TikTok can go either way. TikToks... We've tried TikTok things that worked. I'm not ashamed to say that. Anyway, I thought babies just teeth once, and I was... No, they've got a ton of teeth in that face. It's disturbing how many baby teeth you have. Check out a baby's skull when you've got the time. Just once, and I was so wrong, it became a routine of me taking care of her a lot. Mum didn't care as long as she wasn't crying, and I liked hanging out with her. It wasn't 24/7, obviously. I had a part-time job and friends, but whenever I came home, she would practically leap out of Mum's stepdad's arms wanting to come to me. She also started fussing a lot whenever my mum would try to put her to sleep, like a full-on baby kickboxing, but she doesn't have that problem with me. She just kind of cuddles up to my chest and drips off. Anyway, I thought that was a baby being a baby, but my mum was fuming after my sister's birthday party because she wouldn't let my mum hold her in pictures or for cake cutting, and my grandmother made a comment about my sister and I being Siamese twins, but I just took it as we were close. I don't know. My mum was fuming like I said, and she said that I'm confusing my sister into thinking I'm her mum and that I need to take a step back and stop it. What am I supposed to do? Just ignore her whenever she cries or whenever she babbles for me? It's not like I push my mum out of the way to get to her. I'm just there. It's just that she'd be napping her in the bathroom or something, and I don't want my sister crying her little lungs out. So she's...
Oh, this is really sad. Like,
so
seriously.
the mum's not bothering, but the mother,
Yeah. So there was that study that they did where basically they had a baby, and when the baby cried, so babies will do calls. Basically, they will sound out, and if the parent smiles at them or does something in response, they will be generally happy, and sort of, if they don't... And what they did is people had blank faces, and the baby was upset. They thought something was wrong because they were being ignored. They didn't get the response they were expecting. What they actually found is that even something like anger or any response at all is better than no response, right? Even an inappropriate response, the child was less upset than a completely blank face with no emotion coming out, right? It's just... so basically the mother's ignoring the baby, right? So the baby's in pain, and you know, you might go, well, you know, how bad can it be? It's not like it's the worst pain the baby's ever experienced. It is literally the worst pain the baby has ever experienced. And
they're having the worst day.
Right. Like, so what we've got to remember about children when they get upset about things that we think is trivial, it may be the worst thing the child has ever experienced. So we can't just go, oh, well, it means nothing, because it may mean a lot for a child that's never experienced it. But just sort of ignoring the baby teething. Teething sucks. I do know that.
Yeah.
But like, so she's got a really close bond with her sister because she's taken care of. Apparently, it does work for teething because it reduces puffiness.
Okay.
Apparently, that's why people put it on their eyes, kind of thing, when doing beauty regimes.
Okay.
So she's implementing some knowledge to help, and she's not fooling the baby into thinking it's her mother. She's just being a better mother as a sister than her mother is, and that's not her fault.
No.
Right?
Like, if the mum had that big an issue with her coddling the baby from that point, she should have said, hey, look, no, we don't do that. I've decided that we let the baby cry it out, better or worse. The mum could have intervened. Like, I don't agree that you should let a baby cry that long, because if they are crying that long, they are in trouble. They're not. If they're not going to sleep, there's something wrong. A lot of babies don't just cry themselves to sleep if they're very sick. They'll just keep crying until whatever it is stops. So
plus, they're not doing it for attention. They're doing it because they're in pain. They're teething.
Right. And this is what people it's like, oh, they're crying too much. I don't know what's going on. They must be doing it for attention. And maybe this is how this sister's been treated, like that. She's got no comparison because she's the older sister. That's probably how the mother would treated her, and she had nobody stopping her. So now the sister's taken initiative and decided, well, I don't like the crying fair, and I can do something about it, and it is working. I'd be fine with that. If that was my eldest daughter, I'd be like, oh my God, thank you for figuring out what was wrong with the baby. I just couldn't do it. But the mum's like, oh, whatever, but hasn't paid attention.
Yeah, and what are you telling the daughter? Like that you don't take care of your sister? Like, what are you actually, so
what are you
if
asking
in
her?
the future you need her to do something for the daughter, like, it's a real mixed message. Oh, I want you to be there for the family, but don't be there for the family. I think that it is more, I think this is more the mother is embarrassed that she isn't helping the child as much as her daughter is.
Right, and she's now not getting attention. She's not getting the mother treatment from the baby because the baby has just learnt to trust the sister. I don't think the baby, you don't even know whether the baby thinks it's their mother or not. I don't think she's actually done that. That's an assumption the mother's made, and she said that's what you're doing. And so you don't know that until that baby says mother to that sister, until it utters that word. Then you'd have a problem. You're just annoyed that you haven't looked after your baby properly and your daughter made you look bad, to what it seems like. And the daughter's not just gonna, the daughter's like, yeah, I've got stuff going on too. I'm not just gonna listen to this kid crying because you won't do anything. I'm taking initiative and doing something for my sake and the little baby's sake. Maybe you've conditioned yourself to ignore a crying baby because you probably did it to the eldest daughter. You've conditioned yourself to just not care about that crying, and some people do that. They just switch it off after a while, and they just go, well, if I can't do anything about it, it'll figure. And the mother's
and
the
it's your
arsehole.
child, but take a step back and stop taking care of your sister is a really weird thing for a mother to say. It definitely is. It's weird,
right? And there's
like,
a stepdad in this as well. Like, according to her, there's another parental figure, where I don't know where they are location wise, but is the stepdad ignoring the baby too because the mum's doing it?
Maybe presumably he's at work, or something like that.
He's
but
not
he's
around. He doesn't.
The baby would practically leap out of his arms. So presumably he's not helping with the teething either.
Yeah.
The only person that is. I mean, is it really a great surprise that if you do nothing about your child teething and your daughter does something, that the child wants to be with the daughter? That's not a great surprise.
Right. Like, you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Like, so now you're complaining that the baby isn't behaving for you, by your standards, and you're blaming the sister for that instead of your lack of responsibility for an actual infant. And you know, your 16-year-old kid, again, that's a borderline of what you would give responsibility to a kid anyway. If you're sitting there going, well, a 16-year-old can have a baby, then they're perfectly capable of looking after a younger child. Don't agree with that at all. The kid's just taken it upon themselves to sort this out. She never intended to steal. She's not trying to usurp the mother role of the house.
I would be proud of a child that, or a 16-year-old. I guess it's not a child, and that's a young adult, or at least a teenager that takes it upon themselves to help out their sibling. Like that's a good thing that they're doing. Like to discourage that. This is, I mean, I hate to say it's a bad mother, but she sounds like a really bad mother. Not only is she ignoring one child in pain, she's also discouraging the other one from helping out her sibling. That's horrible.
Right. Yeah. And the grandmother's obviously made a comment, and she's taken offense to the entire thing where you basically had a free babysitter all that time, and now you're annoyed that the babysitter gets more affection than you do. Like you've just took advantage of that kid being willing to do that, because she didn't say anything until it became a problem with the baby interacting with the mother. She let it go on.
The mother could have said, hey, what are you doing with the baby to make them so amenable and share the knowledge that you have? But she's just going, oh, well, it makes me look bad. And that's a terrible reason to sort of chide somebody. Yeah, absolutely.
No, I don't think she's not at all, not the asshole at all. I wouldn't call this kid an asshole in any regard, but cursory. She did respond to the first comment. Oh.
Yeah. That's okay.
Why not, Karen? Okay, that's a great name. Not the asshole. Your sister prefers you over your mother because your mother has failed to be a parent. From the sounds of it, you are the only one who comforts her when she cries, shows affection, and gives her your time and cares for her needs outside of physically. Your mother is a bad parent who leaves a baby to scream and cry and thinks that's okay. If she wants to throw a hissy fit over the fact the teenager is more concerned parent than her, keep doing what you're doing because this is helping your sister more than you know it. And then she's like, I just want to clarify, she doesn't ignore her, but when she was teething, she said that there was nothing she could do because it's something all babies go through. No, that's not.
Well, obviously that's not true. There was something she could do. She was just unaware of it. And it's time to say, well, that's a really good idea. Look, I mean, this is what we talk about when saying the internet's a double-edged sword. Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation out there, but there's a lot of good information as well. That's the thing. Like, I wouldn't have known that cucumbers can help teething babies, but when I looked it up and it said, oh yeah, it reduces puffiness, so that can help with teething. It's like, well, yeah, that makes sense. But you know, you shouldn't be to blame because you've gone out and found some useful information. Your mother should be proud of you for that. You know, even if it is from TikTok.
Yeah. Well, you can just use the stuff for mouth ulcers. That works just as well. You can use it for teething. Just rub the ointment on the tooth, and that helps. It's the inflammation.
I thought there was a lot of different things you could do for teething to at least just help ease the pain kind of thing. You know, it doesn't stop it happening, of course, but at least
I mean, wasn't it somebody like at one point they were? I mean, the worst thing you can do is I know women put jam on pacifiers. Do not do that, because that's how people found out that you get cavities before you even have teeth. And the other thing you shouldn't do is dip it in alcohol or give the baby rub. Maybe a tiny bit of, like, I wouldn't be taking Sambuca or whiskey and rubbing it on a cloth. And I get that's pacifying the baby, but I don't think that's the best way to go about it. But if they're going to sit and chew on a cucumber and that keeps them quiet for however long, if that settles them, that's fine.
Maybe they'll grow up with a healthy diet of cucumber as well. Cucumber's pretty good for you, actually. It's not too bad at all. Yeah, probably celery's a bit better, but you know, nothing wrong with cucumber. I like cucumber. You like cucumber?
I like cucumber. I do.
Yeah,
but you like pickles. That's different.
I do like pickles. Yeah.
Yeah, when your mother's, that's true. The mother's got another baby on the way. That I forgot about that. Like she said, the mum's like 5 months pregnant. So is she going to ignore that one too? So baby at 1, and then you're going to have 2 babies in the house effectively by the time that baby's born. So they're like those Irish siblings, practically. That's another thing too. Like, I really think, I mean, you have every right to have as many kids as you want, but if you're not kind of giving the first one a chance to turn into a toddler before you have another baby, I don't understand that logic. I mean, sometimes it just happens by accident, but they keep, I don't know, I've seen families with just like 4 kids and they're very young at the same time, and they've just basically had to raise a bunch of babies from scratch, and it's no wonder that they end up needing more help than most, because there's you've barely got one of them out of nappies before you've got another baby with nappies, and some people can make that work and some people wouldn't. They would struggle a lot because I don't understand that part of it. Okay, there's another not the arsehole. Okay. Not the arsehole. When I was younger, my mum would lock me in my room thinking it would make me go to sleep. It didn't. It traumatized me. I hate the dark and being alone, and she didn't care. She neglected and abused me all through my childhood. And only now in my teens am I realizing how horrible she really was. She calls this me rebelling when I don't want her near me. Please try to get out of that toxic environment like I'm trying to do. I don't know the full story, but the mother should feel jealous of their daughter for parenting better than her. Yeah, it's just going to get worse if that's how she's behaving.
Yeah. And the post says, "I'm so sorry you're going through that. I hope you get a situation gets better for you." Yeah, same
that's
here.
not
Like
fair.
that's terrible. But that's basically what she's being blamed for, is sort of
doing something.
A mother feels jealous that the daughter's doing a better job than her. Why you would feel that way is beyond me. It seems selfish. It really does. You're not doing what's best for your child. You're doing what's best for you, and that sucks.
Yeah. If we put what do we do now? Do we do another thing? Or?
We can if you want to, or we could call it if you do want to. I do want to go through the people's comments first.
That's what I meant. Like, now, are we doing comments now?
Yeah.
Your comments, okay.
Yeah, we'll go through the chat comments and see what they've got to say. It's a sort of a what? Only the mother can tell who the father is without a DNA? What? No, sometimes they can't. What are you talking about? Come on now.
Apparently some people think that DNA tests should be mandatory regardless.
Oh, I think that's
insane. That's basically treating every woman like a liar, basically.
Why would someone with a 16-year-old want to have a baby, let alone 2? I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe with the stepdad decided that they wanted to have kids. Is this
well,
like the stepdad's,
she might have had the kids young with somebody else, and they wanted to have a child together. But that's fair enough. I'm not saying that's bad, but treating your daughter as bad because they take care of your kids is a real bad message to send, especially when you want them babysitting later in life. Just saying. So women like babies for some reason, but also you'd think mum would be great. You'd think mum would be grateful. I would expect so. Like, I really think she ought to be, but obviously she isn't.
Can't force people to show gratitude. Sadly,
infanticide is higher among women. I don't think that's true. I think sort of infanticide's roughly the same between men and women. I really do. So, please justify that with some sort of citation or some sort of statistic, because, just saying that doesn't make it true. Dreed says, man, nothing like makes you not want to be a parent more than watching people be parents before the age of 30. At least that's my experience. Yeah, I totally agree. Agree.
The circumstance I thought this was, I was completely wrong. I thought this was like, it's not that actually, but in cases where it happened in the olden days, if you had a teenage child who had a kid, and nobody wanted to tell that kid that the sister was the parent. You masquerade the baby as the grandmother would be the mother, and then the sister would just be the sister, and you would never tell the baby that the sister was the mother. I thought that was where that was going, but it's completely different. She's willingly taking care of the baby, and the mother's actually annoyed that she's become a maternal figure.
Yeah.
But she had every opportunity to do that herself. It's like, okay.
Sterling says, how much attention is child going to get once the next baby arrives? The mum will be happy for the 16-year-old taking care of the sister then. Yeah, absolutely. No, Sterling, totally right on the money, mate. She's going to have two children under her care. And, you know, having a sister willing to help them is just, it's awesome. Not bad. I don't know.
Yeah. My only concern would be that this poor sister will feel like she can't leave home because the little sister's not being taken care of. Like, I'd hate for her to get to 18 and think, or if I go too far, then my little sister won't be taken care of. That would be a bad situation, but yeah.
Yeah, and Reed says, we kind of set up a society which doesn't work with biological reality. Stockholders don't care about human flourishing, I guess. Yeah, that's true. And I kind of care more about what stakeholders think. So there's stockholders and stakeholders is everybody it affects, which for a large corporation is almost everybody. So, you know, I think that stakeholders are more important.
But at the same time, aren't governments using baby bonuses to incentivize making new baby taxpayers? I thought that's what our baby bonus was, the population control. If a government thinks their population isn't going to match what they think it will be in 20 years, they incentivize breeding.
Yeah, sure.
So I thought that's what we were doing here. I don't know if it's been done anywhere else, but yeah.
Well, and sort of, so overpopulation is one of those things that is hotly contentious at the moment. People are arguing back and forth. And the stupidest thing I've heard is, oh, all the people in the world would fit into, you know, New York State or something, you know, and it's not a case of whether they fit in an area or not. Basically, we're talking about that we have a certain resource need that's getting higher and higher. And in order for people to have a reasonably good life, they're going to need X amount of resources. So sort of just unlimited procreation, as sort of capitalism or consumerism rather sort of promotes, it just makes it so that everybody in general has a worse life, and that's not good. But the people promoting this kind of thing are all privileged individuals. They're in a position to have enough money that their descendants have a good life. And they don't really care about anybody else. They don't care if there's, you know, billions of people that are, you know, sort of living very substandard existences, because it's not them, right? They're doing fine. So I think that that's where sort of the people that are advocating for unlimited procreation, either it's religious or they're in a position to have a great life and they don't care what happens to other people.
Yeah.
Sterling says you can give the baby Tylenol if it's in pain, all kinds of frozen teething rings. Yeah, I suppose ice would do the same thing. It would reduce puffiness. That's why you put a steak on your black eye, because it will reduce the swelling there. There's nothing you can do for a teething baby. Oh, don't give your baby frozen steak. I'm just saying.
Right. The grandmother probably told her this. Yeah, frozen peas are good.
Frozen peas are great if you've got a black eye or been in a fight or something, because it not only it's cold, it also contours to the whatever it is. It's actually great. And
you were in a lot of pain with that tooth thing as well. It's like, it's not like teeth pain is horrible at any age. Like having for better or worse, teething problems as an adult. If you've got a rotten tooth in your mouth, you are in pain. And a baby is crying to the extent that you would be in as much pain were you having the same problem. Like teeth, they cause so many problems.
Yeah, if I was in pain like that, I would be unhappy, very unhappy. Yeah. I actually think that postnatal genetic testing is a good idea. if only to know about possible genetic conditions before they occur, knowing where to look for them and such. Yeah, and you've got a case for that, Reed. I just don't think it should be necessary to do it to find out parentage, basically.
Yeah, they only want it for parentage. The people who demand those things, they're literally just I want to prove that kid's my kid the minute it comes out, or even before. Yeah. That's all they care about. They don't care about the genetic problems with the kid. They just want to know that they're responsible for it or not. That's why I don't. Testing purely for that, that's stupid.
But no, but Reed's got a good point. There are certain conditions testing is perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, that's what it should be done for.
Sterling says, you don't just ignore their baby and let them scream out of the pain. That's neglect. Well, I mean, if they're just crying for attention, it may be, you may want to ignore them until they settle down, because just giving them attention or they always want attention may not be the best way to go. However, we sort of get some insight into what babies' cries mean, and they sort of have things that they do that will tell you what's wrong with them. And sometimes it's hard to tell totally, but there's no confusion over what this baby's going through. It's not crying for attention. It's crying because it's in pain. Like I totally get it. If they're in pain, that is neglect. And I totally understand. Absolutely agree. Babies usually stop crying if you walk or rock them while holding them. Not always. Not if they're teething. I mean, that must suck. Like, seriously. Teeth pain is terrible. And it's really weird that we have like this perfectly created being, according to the creationists, that as a baby we have these small teeth that come through, and then they have to push their way through, and then at some point they all drop out again. What's that all about? What's the point of that? It's so weird. It's really weird.
We should just be born with teeth.
Right. And what was your one? Toenails. What's the point of toenails?
Yeah, specifically toenails. At what point do you go, why am I still trimming? Like fingernails, I kind of understand at this point.
Right.
But not toenails.
You grab things. But like this is what Lynn brought up, and this is why I absolutely love my wife, because she's like, I don't get why we have toenails and they grow. And I immediately thought, yeah, like under the creationist paradigm of we've been created perfectly by God, why toenails? Like, they don't serve any purpose. We don't dig with them. We don't do anything with them. All they do is grow and we cut them off. Like, it doesn't do anything. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if God designed it, that's a stupid design, aren't you? That's silly.
Because they have two rows of teeth. Yeah, they have their teeth. The teeth are in the head. That's what freaked people out, because they were cremating babies and like they'll find a tooth in the ashes, and the parents are like, my kid didn't have teeth. Yeah, they do. We're born with teeth. You just don't see them. We have a really weird system of teeth growing.
But I guess it's more of that challenge to the person that thinks we're created perfectly by God to say, hey, well, what's the point with toenails? Because they have absolutely no function for us. They might for a mole or for a cheetah or something like that, but for us,
I think we need to clarify. We don't mean the actual nail. We mean, like, why do they keep growing?
Oh, toenails I think protect the end of the toe, just like fingernails.
I'm not advocating, but they should stop, like the cuticle, wherever it grows, whatever part that you keep cutting off. When does that stop growing? Because that's like hair. It doesn't.
When you die.
Yeah, so we have hair for a reason. I kind of get the hair argument, but
So, but yeah, I think that's dumb, because if you stub your like little toe on something, half the time it's the toenail like that jams into your foot that hurts like hell. I'm not sure I believe that. I'm not sure.
I think we're turning into an anti-toenail.
We are going to be an anti-toenail house. I'm going to have my toenails removed and see if I have any more pain or whatever. That's a very good response, though, Deviant. That's probably a better response than I'd get from most creationists. I got to say.
Yeah,
I got to say.
True. I'll give you that.
I do got to say. All right. Well, I mean, we've been gone for 2 hours. I'm happy to call it if you do feel like
I think we've covered a lot of bases.
Yeah. So let's see how the last poll went and see what people. Poster is morally correct. Yeah, absolutely. I don't see anything wrong in sort of what they have done. I don't see anything wrong. Anti-toenail household. Yeah, it's just a pain to cut them. The other day I was like, oh, I just cut my toenails and I'm cutting them again. It's annoying.
Again, when you get older, it's actually very hard to cut toenails, and older people need a lot of help with their feet. They have to go to a podiatrist to cut their nails because they physically can't bend over anymore. So when it starts to be a case if you physically can't cut those nails, they're going to be ingrown, they're going to have like infections, things like that. It would be a lot easier if you hit a point at like maybe get to 50, 60 and your nails stop growing, because at that point, it does cause problems. If you don't look after your toenails when they grow, they will grow back into your foot and then you need surgery. So there's just no point to them.
There's that animal whose like tusks grow into their head and to their brain. Like there's a certain native pig, I think of Indonesia or something. Its tusks grow up and around, pierce its head, and eventually kill. It's the most like
it's horrifying.
Great design there, guys. It works really well. Like you're literally, making them, giving them the tool to kill. Like it's just so terrible. Yeah.
Or if you don't give birds like the proper things to, their beaks can get and you have to clip the beak. Like there's and horses' toenails. Horses need like grooming and things like that. Like there's something about toenails.
Bred the horse to do what it does.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's been the result of
our fault.
breeding. So
right.
Maybe,
no, that's okay.
Yeah. It's like how cows, if they're not milked, they're going to experience tremendous pain and stuff. That isn't really a natural state of cows. That's what we bred them for, which, humans doing horrific things kind of thing. So, yeah. But I think that will do it for today. I'm so glad all of you joined me and my lovely wife for a little AIMBOT, just a little AIMBOT, just a little AIMBOT. What have I got coming up? I will have Fundamentalist Fails on Friday. This week we will be back on my channel for part 2 of the debate between Taunton and Hitchens that we started over on Embers. So if you haven't seen part 1, head over to Embers and check out part 1 of our debate review. It's very interesting. The creationist did it like an own goal at least on 1 or 2 occasions. So it was actually really cool. But definitely show Ember some love because we love Ember. And I'll just get a link for you on that one. So if you do want to see it, definitely check it out so you know where we're at for the next time. But yeah, I think I'll grab the direct link to the review. Give me 1 sec. And I will post that. But I want to thank you all for showing up. Please do. I agree. It's lovely having Lynn on. It's just she's not always free. I certainly don't force her. This is not. It's a treat. Don't expect treats all the time. It's really when we can slot it in. But thank you so much, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave a comment if you like Lynn.
Andrew.
She needs the reinforcement.
I need validation. No, that's not. No, I'm not doing this for validation. I did this to help you out, I think.
I think it does. Like, it really, my voice is so much better afterwards because I'm not talking constantly. But yeah, and I just love having you on. I mean, you're really good insights and stuff. It's great. So do like, subscribe, leave a comment, and be kind to yourself. If you do have boundaries around anything, you don't have to justify them, and definitely take your actions to maintain those boundaries, but don't expect others to take actions to maintain those boundaries, which is always a different thing. Expecting others to change for your boundaries is different than you taking actions to maintain your boundaries. But be kind to others, and I will see you in the next one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.